Good morning, everyone. Today is day 3 of harvest. Just for a little bit of an update on how it's going, I washed my allergy medicine down this morning with an energy drink. But hey, at least I remember that allergy medicine. We had a little bit of moisture move in overnight. Just a little bit of a dew on all of our equipment this morning and the grain bins. Basically what that tells you is we're going to be delayed this morning from starting our soybeans maybe by 30 minutes to an hour, maybe even 2 hours, depending on how severe the moisture is. When the overnight weather results in a dew on our soybeans like we have this morning, it makes it very difficult for our combines to cut and process the soybeans. Also, the field moisture may be a little bit higher. I'm not sure with how dry the beans have been that they really picked up much moisture on the seed side, but harvestability may be an issue. That's really the only thing that these old harvesters here are useful for on our farm, is telling us the moisture overnight. The sun is up there behind the clouds somewhere. Once that burns through the atmosphere, that's a game changer for cutting soybeans. Cloudy days are never as good for harvesting as sunny days are. You cannot beat the power of Mother Nature. The auger's going through a little bit of a growth spurt this morning. He's reshuffled the auger in the tractor a few times. What they're trying to do is make sure that when it's sitting up there, it's sitting flat with the hole as opposed to at an angle, because we want it to fill straight down into the bin. Dad and Jeff are matching this morning. They're like Oompa Loompas. Might as well put some fuel in it. I mean, why not? I think it takes longer if you just sit here and stare at it the whole time. Also, if you enjoy large, cumbersome farm equipment and the people who operate them, make sure you like the video. We still have a bit of a wait left, but everything's fueled up and ready to hit the fields. If the auger stays like that for much longer, it should probably go see its doctor. It looks to me though like it's getting pretty close to maxed out on height. I don't think that would even load one of our harvesters. No. It'd probably get into that side door right there up top. We wouldn't be able to fill it straight in. Never filled one before. That was a bit of a mistruth. We've never filled the tall ones with grain. We filled these two seasons ago. This year we'll probably use them again, or at least hopefully if we have a lot of corn. They're not that bad, they're just not quite as fun to use as the grain bins. We lost a shoe. We got the wrong shoe, so Dad's gonna go get parts, and I'm gonna go ahead and take his combine down to the field, that way it's ready to go. Another easy way to tell with the moisture is just to walk through some grass. Your boots are wet, it's not gonna be ready. It's slowly starting to tear through those clouds. I'd say it'll be cut in the next 30 minutes. If the field we're going to check here in a little bit is ready to cut, they're not going to be going into this bin. We just had a little bit of extra time with the way the weather was working out this morning to set this auger up. We will put beans in this north bin, but it's going to be coming from our farm over to the west. Patiently waiting. The sun's coming out of the clouds right now. Won't be long till we're cutting. We've actually got a 3.6 and a 3.4 out here where I planted the rest of those out this spring. Be a nice side-by-side. I think these 3.6 A83 Pioneer soybeans have a lot of potential. We'll see what the 3.4s do next to them. We just got a wrench in our plans for the day. These beans, even in the driest spots of the field, are still way too wet. Testing the 15 spots up to 20. No way they're gonna go there. The weather's just not that favorable for drying down soybeans today. A little bit rusty in the old 10-speed when I spend all winter driving automatic semis. They spoil you. If you see a 10-wheeler going across the countryside grinding gears, just don't pay any attention. Treasure of some kind. It's like a medieval torture device. Yeah, I'd say they're a little green still. Not the cleanest sample either, but they're going in the grain bin. They'll be pure when they come out. Holy depth perception. I have no idea where this is going to start dumping at. I thought the auger wagon was bad. Once you get used to dumping in the grain cart all season, this becomes a challenge. Wow. Surprisingly right. Should I try and balance it myself, old school style, or should I just use the digital readout? 35, 240 gross. Nope, 250. I lied when I told you we weren't using this auger today. That's one of the really nice perks though of having bean storage, is you can get away with putting some 15% beans in here and not having any issues. We took these to the elevator, they're obviously too wet. We're gonna lose a couple % shrink on them, whereas we put them in the bin, they'll even out with the rest of the dry beans, because it's guaranteed we'll have dry beans in here at some point in time. I know that you probably won't be able to see it, but we're running a stirrator right out of the auger. Watch the beans being thrown if you can see them. Clean the corners out and weigh it empty. We'll have a good weight on what was on the truck. I may have said stirrator when I was up there. I meant spreader. A stirrator is a screw that goes down that stirs up all the grain when it's in the bin. That was the first partial load of the season into one of our bins. The first of probably a couple 100,000 bushels total. Hopefully everything runs smoothly on our bin sites. Dad's truck is in
race mode. That's scary. Maybe it's just because I'm driving.
That field of soybeans that we just checked this morning that was too wet was a 3-4 Pioneer bean. We've got some 3-6 Asgrow beans and some 3-6 Pioneers on some different soil closer to the farm that we're going to try them. We're not entirely sure, and sometimes with these beans, the only way to tell is to take a combine out there. I've got the head unhooked, and the combine's coming down the road. We probably put 30 hours a year on the combines just checking for dry beans. It sure is slow, but it looks good doing it. Time to test the beans. I'm really excited to taste some of that corn. I think our yield will be pretty good. You know it's getting dry when the ears are hanging down. I'm gonna go ride our moisture tester. I'd say they're dry here.
Would you?
Were they tested?
10-9.
Huh. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we finally found some dry beans. In a little bit of a moral dilemma here. Come on, buddy, move. Move. Get out of there. You gotta go. Get out of there. Get out of there. Come on. What a great guy I am. You would have been a pellet if you wouldn't have been that tired. The rabbit almost caused me to lose my bonus today. This combine was about to stop. Not a good cart guy if that happens. Does anyone else get that mid-afternoon slump, like a 10 or 15 minute period where you feel like you're just gonna fall asleep or you're asleep with your eyes open? I sure do. 9670 has one little strip left and we're done with this field. To say, I got a little bit impatient waiting at the field. We're also trying to keep the field separate, so I had to come get empty before the combines dumped on me. I'd say they're about full waiting on me back to the field. That's an interesting place for an ear of corn. Does this mean I don't get dinner tonight? Combines are crawling through the field right now. Must be good beans. The nice thing about hauling to your own bins, they only close when you want them to. Or I guess if they break down, but I'm not planning on that happening. The sun's set, the lights are on. This is when things can really get dicey for soybean harvest. As that moisture comes up, those beans can be really hard on that platform. Hopefully we can run late and finish this part of the field. Looks like I'm the last person out in the field without their lights on. Does that win me some kind of prize? Usually of the three of us, I run the least amount of lights. I just like to have illumination in front of the tractor because really all I'm paying attention to is what's in front of me. And I let the combines light the auger wagon up. This 9460R has some pretty powerful LED lights on it and it'll blind him, especially old man there in the S670. quitting time. Line everything up out in the field. Hope no one messes with it. See you guys tomorrow. Day 4 of harvest. Nothing has gone terribly wrong yet, which I guess is okay, but I have had to add eye drops and nasal decongestant spray to my lineup in the mornings. For a farmer, you'd think that my body would agree a little bit more with soybeans, but it definitely does not like them at all. For everyone who's concerned with the fact that I don't operate a combine on a day-to-day basis, here you go. Combine cowboy this morning. Just kidding, it only let me in here long enough to screw something up and then they kicked me out. That didn't take long. Combines are just above my pay grade. We're getting close to the end of this field. Or at least this side. We're gonna go over there to the east side. This farm right here is probably one of my favorite farms out of all of our farm ground. Since this farm is right next to our homestead, I spent a lot of time out here when I was young, riding with my family, my dad, my uncles, my grandparents, doing planting, harvesting, and what have you. Actually, one of my oldest memories, at least as far back as I can recall when I was a kid, was riding out in this field picking corn with my grandpa. And I recall getting out of the combine, and within the next few hours, that same combine that I'd just been riding in with granddad burnt down. Somewhere out in this area. That's the nature of a family farm, though. I grew up out on these fields. My dad and his brothers grew up out on these fields. My grandpa grew up out on these fields. We've been out here for a long time. It is really crazy to think about how long my family's been operating out here. Plus, this is a magnificent farm. Beautiful roll to it, 3/4 mile rows. Doesn't get any better. The trend we're starting to see out here in our soybean fields is that our yields are much better on the sides and well-drained slopes, whereas our lower, flatter, darker ground is really not yielding as well. What that tells us is a lot of our yield loss out here isn't from a lack of rainfall, but actually too much rainfall. We had a very peculiar year where in July, we had a lot of rain, and in August, we didn't have very much rain. So unfortunately, what you would typically expect to be your better ground, this very rich, fertile, low soil, is not performing as well as the higher, low-quality soil because the water just caused too much damage. We're talking about a 30 bushel difference where the water got off fine versus where it didn't. A lot going on in the countryside in Coles County today. We're cutting here, we've got a neighbor picking corn over there, and a few other neighbors to the west are shelling corn as well. Harvest is here. Back in my rig before I get yelled at. Lunchtime. This is why I have allergies. I saw this and then I was going to pretend that I didn't see it, and then my conscience got the best of me. Souvenir. Somewhere up there there's a combine. Oh, there it is. Just turn around. Got in trouble the other day for carrying too many rocks with me in the tractor. Where else am I supposed to put them? Hopefully the person hooking up that trailer sees the rock. Dad just randomly unhooked his head and is leaving the field with the combine. Either something went terribly wrong or he needs some fuel. Meanwhile, I've used 2/10 of a tank. It's kind of like a fire hazard. You could encapsulate this and turn it into a biological warfare weapon. Soybean dust, the enemy of my allergies. Okay, I've got a question for you farm experts here on YouTube. Is the right etiquette to fold your auger down going through the field on the grain cart, or is it okay to leave it up all the time when you're in the field? I see both out here in the countryside. We've always been the type of operation to keep our augers down, because you never know when you're going to come in contact with something out in the field or go under a power line, but I see everything, so I don't know. What do you guys think the right way to go with that is? Fueled up and back in action. There's the last of this field. Load number 20 out of this field. Yes, they do make fancy scale systems that'll do all this for you, but I might as well put my couple $1,000 education to use and do some subtraction. I got a little bit left on here that I'll take up to the farm and dump off right onto the truck. Combines are unhooking and we're gonna go find another field to cut. Yeah, imagine if they all look like that.
They won't cut.
They feel wet. Does anyone have a calculator I can borrow? I'll do the easy part. I'll let Dad do the legwork later. We did find a field of soybeans that we think's dry enough to try, so we're gonna head north, check them out. I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now as we kind of shuffle around to move north, giving the 9R something to drink, and dumping what's left on this 10-wheeler into the bin. I never explained to you guys why we weigh what we're putting in this bean bin right now, and it's because not everything that goes in here is farmed or owned by the same person. We have to have separate weights, that way we can commingle grain without any kind of confusion. Now some of these bins, an entire farm or one owner or entity will be the one putting their grain in, so it doesn't matter what the weight is, because at the end of the day, this winter when we go to haul out, we know that 100% of what comes out of that bin was from this farm. Beans are such a low volume crop, and this 36-foot bin behind me can hold 20,000 plus bushels of beans, so that means it can take a lot of acres. We'll have multiple fields contributing to filling this bin. Let her eat. What'd you say? I can't hear you. I should probably check to make sure there's not 1,000 gallons of diesel fuel on the ground. Fingers crossed. Whew. Crises averted. A little bit more for good luck. Uh-oh, looks like I'm a little bit late to the party. Combine's about full. Didn't lose my bonus just yet though. My timing's always been phenomenal. Good thing he can see, because I can't. It's going to be another magnificent night of watching the sun go down while we cut some soybeans. Harvest views are unmatched. This is going to be the last dump of the night. These beans are really close to 13% moisture, which is usually great. If you're hauling the elevator, that's fine. But the full cart early start mantra only applies when the beans you have in the cart are very dry, like 10%. Beans have always had a tendency to pick up a few points of moisture overnight. So these beans are so close to 13 that if we leave them on the grain cart or the semi and can't get them to the elevator tonight, they may test 15 or 16 tomorrow, which is not what we want. So we're going to quit for the night, and hopefully we can come back here tomorrow to some dry beans. Look at that. It's a woman that drives a combine. Unfathomable.
Oh wow. I need to go back to the kitchen, I think.
That's one of the luxuries you have of storing soybeans in a grain bin like this one. You can put 10% beans in all the way through 16% beans, and they come out together at 13. At an elevator, every single load is probed for moisture. Even though they're going to do the same thing we are right here, put their dry beans with their wet beans, and they come out right where you need them. We just get docked for it. You don't get docked in your own bin. Well, that's enough farming for one video. Harvest has been smooth sailing so far. Hopefully it stays that way. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I appreciate your support. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment if you have any questions. Have a great night. Peace.